Brandon, I wondered if first of all you could just tell me a bit about Rapid Fire in your own words and the part you played, Jake.
Well,
No, I don't want to.
I can't do that. Here, let me read the synopsis from the press notes. I play an art student at a California college who witnesses a murder. Unfortunately, the person that I saw commit the murder happens to be the head of a Chicago crime family. He's not too interested in ever seeing me make it to the stand to testify, as you can imagine. So it spends the rest of the movie, my character spends the rest of the movie just basically trying to survive. What was interesting about it for me was that we brought in my character's background, which was that he had been over in Tiananmen Square with his father in 1989 and been a part of the student revolution there and lost his father there and lost a lot of his friends there. And we shot that, you know, we shot Tiananmen Square, and we had like 500, 600 Chinese student extras and 3 Soviet tanks and a mock-up of the Goddess of Democracy statue. And I mean, it was fascinating, you know. It was one of those scenes, it was an NAR scene, no acting required, you know. You just look around at these tanks coming and these men with guns and you just watch. And so anyway, at the beginning of the film, this Jake, the character, he's really kind of withdrawn into a shell a little bit because of these things that have happened to him. And he doesn't really care too much about being involved in helping. You know how after something, sometimes if something bad happens to you, then you just write it off. So you're like, well, that's it. I'm not going to try anymore. Then I'm not going to get involved anymore. I think that's who he is at the beginning of the film. And what I liked about the script in the whole first place was he does get a chance to take a journey from the beginning of the film to the end of it. You know, go through a transition from who he is at the beginning of the film to the end of it. That's something that's not always in action pictures. And
Seldom, in fact.
Yeah.
Let's not mince our words.
Yeah.
You also had the opportunity to be involved in the film from the onset because it was written very much with you in mind. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Was that a sort of helpful experience in terms of making a movie like that, which you might have had reservations about making otherwise, the sort of involvement?
Yeah, it was because of being my dad's son, totally, you know, solely because of being my dad's son, I've had the opportunity to be in a lot of stupid action movies that I've turned down, you know. For that reason, I was always, it's not about that. I mean, that's not what acting's about. It's not what, listen to me, I'm a 27-year-old actor with 3 films under his belt telling me what acting's about. In my opinion, in my young, uncultured, uneducated opinion, it's not what it's about. It's about people and human situations, and that's what's always affected me about it, you know. And if it doesn't have that, I mean, if the film, if you don't care about the characters and you don't believe in them as people, it's just kind of a pointless exercise in blowing things up, you know.
Absolutely.
And
did you worry? I mean, when did you decide to become an actor? When did you decide that was what you wanted to do?
that's what I always wanted to do. I didn't really ever want to do anything else.
And the martial arts you studied at the same time, but not because you wanted to be a martial arts star in that sort of way, I presume.
Yeah, you're right, I didn't. My dad started training me as soon as I could walk. He trained me while he was alive, and after he passed away, I just kind of kept at it because I didn't really think about it much. You know how you get started at something, you just continue with it. And my dad had a circle of students that were close to him, and so they were friends of our family. And one of those men, Danny Inosanto, continued to be my teacher, so it was kind of a nice unbroken line, you know. And I hadn't really done it at that age, certainly, with any thought of getting into martial arts movies. It's just kind of been that I have this skill and have first happened to get the opportunity to do films that give me a chance to use it.
Were you worried about becoming an actor because of the fact, excuse me, that your father was Bruce Lee? Were you worried that people were going to just see you as sort of trying to follow on in his legacy and kind of take advantage of it in a way, I suppose?
Yeah, it's something to be careful about, because my dad left a really wonderful legacy, and I meet people all over the world who really admire him and admire his work, and really have been very positively affected by it too, you know. And I wouldn't want to do anything to mar that, you know. But I don't think I'm going to.
Weren't you asked to star in some sort of biopic they're making about your father's life next year? You were asked, and you turned that down, didn't you?
Yeah, I just, I was a little scared by the whole thing, really. It's strange to play your own father, you know.
I can imagine. Is it?
Kissing your own mother, you know, I don't know. It's kind of a
Is that
kind of an
gonna be the
Oedipal thing,
scenario?
you know. It could be kind of strange. It's funny, too, because, to tell you the truth, if it had come along later in my career, you know, I might have more seriously considered it. But as it is, it's so early in my career, it's the kind of thing I just feel like it could really be a career ender. You know what I mean?
It could be there and then gone.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody's ever done it, really, have they? I mean, did
Starred as their own father. I
they
don't
ever get
think
any
so.
of the Douglas boys or anything like that? Or
No, but he's not dead yet.
he's not, is he? Right. Well, I don't know. I couldn't really wrap my mind around it. You know what I mean?
Did you have to? I mean, you said that you turned down a lot of action films early on because you didn't want to end up, you know, just making martial arts movies or whatever. Was it ever a sort of worry for you, like, oh my God, I'm going to be a starving actor because I have to keep turning down these sort of movies? Is anyone ever going to offer me something that's a bit more inspired?
Yeah.
How worrying? Did you chew your nails off?
Well, you know, I mean, I worked. You know, I mean, I just supported myself in other ways and went to acting classes and.
Because you went
lived
to a
cheap.
lot of acting classes. I mean, you were obviously very serious about wanting to be an actor first and foremost.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a while. It's what I wanted to do since I was very young. I went to college and studied theater, and when I got out of college, I went to New York and enrolled in a theater group there called the American New Theater and did some stage work, and I'm in a theater group now in Los Angeles called Legal Aliens, and it's a good way of life. I'm getting the chance now to actually get paid for what I've wanted to do for most of my life, and it's great.
Going just briefly back to Rapid Fire and your involvement in the sort of the early stages of the movie, were there any parts of it that you changed or that you didn't like or that you didn't feel were sort of agreeable to the part you were playing?
Well, there was always a tendency, I think, to get away from the root of who this guy is, which is that he's a California college student, and he has had this traumatic experience in Tiananmen Square, but he's still a kid for all that. You know, he's a 21, 22-year-old kid. He's not like a cop or a superhero or something. And I wanted to always stay close to that root of the fact that the circumstances he finds himself in are very horrible to him almost. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a certain amount of apprehension and horror on his part at having to do the things that he finds himself forced to do, instead of having him just kind of become this superhero who would just kind of like smoke a cigarette, shoot the guy dead, get the girl and go home. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different movie. It's not this movie. you
Yeah,
know.
because Jake didn't really leap at the chance of
Not
being
at
a
all.
hero,
No,
did
he tries to get out of the situation the whole time. That was what I wanted to stay true to. Is sometimes during the course of the film, these scenes would come up where Jake was kind of like gung ho, here we go, you know. And I had to keep asking, wait a minute, why is he doing that? Why doesn't he just go home, like leave, get on a bus, and go home?
Get out
you
of
know?
town
Yeah,
fast.
exactly.
Some of the fight sequences, in fact all of them, and I'm not really a great fan of action films normally, but I just thought the whole thing was really exciting.
Oh, thanks.
And the fight sequences particularly were very, very well choreographed and very well done. Now you worked with someone on those, didn't you, who you'd worked with previously?
Jeff Imada and I choreographed the movie. Yeah.
And was it, were any of them particularly difficult logistically? Or we've got a lot of fight fans out there who want to know the dirt.
Well, me too. I mean, I'm a big fight fan myself. You know, I mean, I enjoy those films, and even like you say, we were talking earlier about how some of those films are a little short on character development and plot. It's like sometimes I even don't mind that as much, but it's like if you're not going to give me that, at least do something innovative with the action. You know what I mean? The very least, give me that. And unfortunately, I don't think that's done that often either.
Are you a fan of Hong Kong movies? And if you are, I just wonder about the difference between the two and what you see are the major differences between the kind of Western martial arts films and the Hong Kong ones.
I'm a big fan of Hong Kong martial arts movies. I think that the action sequences in Hong Kong martial arts movies are unparalleled. They're so much more inventive than and daring. The way they're executed, so much better. They're shot better. The people in them are very skilled. They really leave Western movies in the dust, you know. But that's only those segments of the movies. The rest of the movies, really, the quality's not so great usually. I wanted to try and bring some of that flavor of those Hong Kong martial arts movies, because that's where I grew up, you know. And that's where I did my first film. And I wanted to try and bring some of the flavor of that into Rapid Fire, because I've always been a lot more impressed by those films' action sequences than by any films that are done in America.
Mm-hmm. You're contracted to Carolco now to make an unspecified number of movies, is that right? It's quite an unusual thing for an actor your age, and also for an actor in this day and age, because most movie companies aren't prepared to sort of put their money where their mouths are in that way. Were you surprised at an offer like that?
Well, yeah, I was. I mean, it's very nice, you know. It's very nice, but it's still not any. There's no job security in this particular profession, you know. It's kind of a constant state of unemployment, broken up by a job every once in a while.
And your next movie? Tell me a bit about that.
The next movie is called The Crow. It's
about martial arts birds?
Martial artist birds. No, actually, it's about love, death, revenge, Edgar Allan Poe, and coming back from the dead.
Is it based on the Edgar Allan Poe story?
No, actually, that's The Raven. But it's based on an underground comic book, a graphic novella by a guy named James O'Barr that's called The Crow. And it's a story of a rock and roll musician and his fiancée who are brutally murdered in Detroit. And then
It's a big part for you then.
Yeah.
How long do you stay alive for?
Yeah. Actually, you know, in the film, I'm actually alive for a very short period of time. But then I get to come back from the dead to avenge the murders.
Don't we just love the movies? Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.